Now, South Africa is now one of 11 countries with an equal number of men and women in cabinet. The United Nations and Business Unity South Africa among many who've welcomed this move. But what does it mean for women in the country, and can we expect further steps to accelerate gender equality in all spheres of government? To talk more on this, we're joined via Skype by political analyst Melanie Verwoerd, and in studio, the Deputy Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy, Babelile Hlongwa. Deputy Minister, thank you so much for joining me this morning. So we've reached a particular milestone with 50% females in cabinet. Are we heading in the right direction?
We definitely am. First, thank you for having me on your studio.
and also congratulations on your appointment.
Thank you very much. I think when it comes to the issues of women, the country is heading to the right direction. It's been a long journey. And I think the biggest kick was in the Nasrec one, when you look at with regards to the ruling party trying to look at a possibility and actually entertaining a possibility of having a female president. And we may not have won that particular battle, but right now I think there's positive outlook. It's not just the 50% women in the cabinet. It's also an improvement from 41% in the National Assembly to 45, I think, 0.9%. And then across the executives in provinces as well, where a male is a premier, 60% is female executives, with an exception of Gauteng, which took a tangent, and I think that is being attended to. But
yes,
there's been a huge improvement, and I think the country, particularly in the administration, will be taking a cue from what the president has been doing, working together with the African National Congress Women's League. I think at the level of administration, there should just be a natural flow from what the political space has been.
Why has it taken us 24 years to get to this stage? Because
patriarchy is a system, and systems are not easy to deal with. To collapse a patriarchal system will really take generations, and it will take efforts from both genders, because men must unlearn, women must learn new, so that you get into a different dispensation where men and women are treated in an equal sense or in an equal manner. Remember, men remain beneficiaries of patriarchy.
Yes. And
it's not very easy for them to jump out and open the space. It's always a space of contestation, because it's not easy from jumping, from benefiting and not having any issues with the system and moving into that. And also women have challenges, because that system has also psychologically worked on women to not like each other.
You're saying men are feeling disempowered?
No, I'm not saying they're feeling disempowered. It's uncomfortable to move from the point of benefiting to a point of opening space for other people.
Okay, let me go to Melanie now via Skype. Melanie, what is the greatest strength women bring into leadership positions, do you think?
Good morning, and congratulations, Deputy Minister. I just wanted to come back to one point before I get to that. You asked why it took so long, but we have to remember where we came from, particularly also about the gender question. When prior to 1994, I think at any given stage, there was never more than 4 women in Parliament. And then when those of us, including myself, in 1994 came in for the ANC, suddenly there was almost 100 women in Parliament, and that's now increased significantly. So we've come a very, very long way. And of course, we are amongst the top contenders in the world when you start measuring the amount of women in there. We were 10th in the world. I think we will move up now quite significantly. And only 10% of the world has more than 30% women in their parliament. So, we're doing extremely well, although not quite good enough. And of course, it's important that women are there, because we are more than 50% of the population. We are far more than 50% of the voters. So it is the correct thing for it to happen. And of course, women bring in the same amount of intelligence, maybe sometimes a little bit more emotional intelligence. We bring in a particular skills that we bring into Parliament. And of course, we also understand the needs of women better than a lot of men would do. So I don't think it's necessarily that women bring in unique skills, but we bring in skills equal and as good as men can.
Now, Malini, are women in power actually in politics, in powerful positions? Are they opening doors of opportunity for other women?
Well, I think firstly, of course, they set an example for women, which says you can do this. And they are sort of the trailblazers for younger women to come in afterwards. And that is extremely important. Because I think if women don't see other women in there, then I think they don't necessarily, believe that they can be women. So the important thing, however, is that women need to be gender sensitive as well, because we have seen, and there are many examples in the world, I mean, they call it the Thatcher syndrome, where sometimes women become out of necessity because they have to work so hard against the patriarchal system that the Deputy Minister mentioned. But they have to be better at the men's game than the men themselves. And so it's also important that women, that we don't just assume because they are women that they are necessarily going to be good for women. So there needs to be also gender sensitization consistently to those women or of those women who are in senior positions.
When you say that, you actually remind me of Theresa May and what we've seen with this Brexit issue of late as well. Deputy Minister, let's talk about the grassroots, young women, and what is the party doing to get young women interested in politics at this level?
As you all know, in 2001, the Youth League proposed some sort of a gender desk within the Women's League to try and attract the young women. Because it was a struggle. The ANC Youth League was challenged at that time to attract, and I think at that point, young women's participation was about 30%. And then there was also a Women's League that was generally older. So in 2003, the Women's League took that up and considered it and took a resolution. That resolution kind of stayed there, stagnant, not being revoked, but, Yeah. And then eventually in 2015, it was reaffirmed and it was practicalized. We have what we call the ANC Women's League Young Women's Desk, and those young women have been out there and about, and also bringing in challenges of young women, because as much as we are all women, there's also the differentiation of age, and that brings different challenges. We will share certain things. Patriarchy is our biggest problem, all of us. But then, as young women, there are issues. The States SA was saying yesterday, young women are the less educated. But when you check the appetite for school, it's there. It's just that they can't, because the economic and social responsibility of heading families sits on their shoulders. So you find that there's a lot of those things that young women are struggling with, and and the issues of gender-based violence as well. So you find that this particular desk within the ANC, the president says it's a young women's desk of the ANC, not necessarily of the Women's League. So it has brought in issues. It has challenged issues within the organization itself. You will remember the few cases of certain NEC members of the ANC, and it's an uncomfortable position. But I think they are bringing in a lot of issues, and they are going to assist us teach the ANC some of these things, because it's a learning curve for everybody.
So there is something being done to rope in those young ladies to get interested in politics and actually get them involved a lot more.
But also to conscientize society, because it's important that women, whether young or old, understand the struggle of women. They understand the issue, the challenges around the gender issues in the country, and that exercise needs to be done.
Okay. All right. Deputy Minister, thank you so much. We just have to go. Melania, I was going to ask you about are we going to have a female president or woman president at some point very soon? But thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure that will actually happen. And it might just be you, Deputy Minister.
Who knows? Who knows what future holds? But I know that the Women's League will continue. They've done excellently and will continue supporting them. And thank you for having us.
Thank you so much, Deputy